Alright, seems like this thing's working. I'm just going to go ahead and continue where I left off on this Concourse C. Um, Again, this maybe I should say this isn't. It's as much of a live stream as it is just an easy way to get a video uploaded. Like this thing's working. So I'm just going to go ahead and I got to turn up the volume because I was hearing myself talking on the stream, so I couldn't hear myself talk. Okay, so anyhow, like I was saying, it's just basically an easy way to get a video onto my channel without, and yet still have that kind of disclaimer that it doesn't have to be perfect because it is a live stream. So, but again, like I said in the past, my internet's kind of slow, so you may or may not be able to watch it live, at least maybe not completely live. So, anyways, I'm just gonna go ahead and maybe let's see. I gotta actually go ahead and open up Google Earth. So, oops. And get back to Spokane here. Turn off these roads, 3D buildings. Well, actually, I do want 3D buildings. There we go. I was having the hardest time in the world trying to get the 3D buildings to work in Google Earth. I mean, because they've worked in the past, but then they weren't working, and I realized that I unchecked this terrain checkbox right here, so the 3D buildings weren't showing up. So check that, and then now they are. So just in case any of you guys run into that problem, maybe maybe you guys know what you're doing more than I do as far as this goes. But anyhow, so we got the doors put in there. We have one garage door to plop in, but that won't be any big deal. So I think what I want to do now is just get these windows figured out. First off, I can see that we have, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess 4 windows that are the same. And then these two look like they're just mirrored. Actually, it's really just this window, but with the middle cut out here, so there's room for the door there. So yeah, so a couple things. I don't know how far I'm going to get, but I want to get the windows and these staircases here, and that's going to be kind of a fun thing to model. Unfortunately, I do not have the best, it's hard to kind of see what the supports look like, but I'll just kind of do my best to get it as close as possible. We'll see how that goes. Again, one thing in question is can't really see any pillars right here. That'd be an awfully tall pillar anyways. I mean, there'd have to be braces or something. So anyhow, we'll just kind of go with it here. Alright, so the windows. First thing is, I'll probably just fill in one of these areas here. And to be consistent, we'll fill in, I want to do one of these windows first because these kind of follow after that, you see. So if I do the third one over just to be consistent about things, let's fill that in. And then we just have to figure out kind of the dimensions of this window. Get it as close as we can. Now I could snap a picture and line it up, which isn't a bad idea. It's just a matter of doing it and whether it's really, whether you really have to or not. I guess I'll go ahead and give it a try just to break things up a little bit, I guess. So I can take the snipping tool, snip out this segment here as best as I can. Fortunately, it's fairly square, so I'm not going to have to crop it or anything. And if I did, I wouldn't be doing this. So sometimes certain things become are just too much work. But in this case, it's fairly easy. I'll go in Blender here, and I'll, let's see, added empty. Let's see. I guess my cursor's about where it needs to be. So if I add an empty, I need to be in edit or object mode for this. Empty and then image. Cool, and we'll rotate that on the x-axis 90 degrees, and we'll add the image. So we go over here, open. I just saved that to my desktop, which is a complete mess right now, but it's probably like capture. What did I save it as? Yeah. Okay. Cool. And this, I can more or less just scale it to its height. If I got it right, if I got everything else sized right on the building I have this far, if I just scale this to its height, it should be at least somewhat close. I'm going to have to move it this way. And it is pretty darn close if you look at it, because the bottom's like, what, like, it doesn't want to scale now. There we go. The bottom's like right here, so if I were to try and scale this to fit, it's going to be right around there. So that's pretty cool that that actually is, that these segments are all shaped about right, which is good. Happy about that. Now if I just turn the transparency down on this quite a bit, I really don't want to be able to, I just want to be able to see the window frame for the most part. And then we could just sort of, now that we have this more or less lined up, I might move it, I was thinking about moving it a hair to the left, but again, you know, who's really keeping track of these things? That looks fine. And if I go into X-ray mode, then I can see behind the image here. Okay, so it looks like the edges of the window should line up about with the edges of these, what I'm at least going to call pillars or columns, whatever you want to call them. I guess maybe more like columns, I don't know. We won't worry about it too much. And if I just use a knife, loop cut for this, I'll just cut out the shape of the windows here, the frame, anyways. That one goes there. Now I have vertex snap on, so it's making it a little hard to slide these edges around, so I need to turn that off by pressing Shift Tab. And we'll try that again. There, now it's a lot smoother. And then we can just click, move. Again, it's one of those things where you see, like, you know, these. Well, I guess what I find funny is if I typically build buildings fairly symmetrical if I don't have something to go off of. But in real life, when you look at like windows and stuff, there's all these weird shapes. Like here, this window's smaller than that one, and this one's like really wide. I mean, I guess it's just weird how you would. Why would they make it that way instead of just like maybe even have even frames all the way across? I don't know, but kind of interesting. So that being said, it's not too crucial to get this exactly right, but this one does still look a little bigger. So if I slide this a little bit, and then maybe slide this one over. I want to slide it over, but I don't know if I need to. So if I duplicate this, I can kind of check the width here. Yes, it is a little narrower. So what I'll do is just leave that there, and I can even drag another one over here. So these all need to be slid over a little bit. Again, that's just kind of the perspective being messed up in the photo, I think. So kind of even things up this way. I didn't line these up perfectly, so looks like I need to move that edge over. Or not. I think that's just part of the plane. I can't tell. So if I delete this, and maybe I should just hide that empty so I can see what I'm doing. I did move the wrong edge over, so this is confusing now. Let's see. There's actually something weird going on with this. Okay. Okay, that worked pretty well just to mirror it. And then snap the vertices into place. Okay, so now one thing I need to do is, since I duplicated these, I need to make sure we have get rid of these duplicate vertices here, or at least kind of weld them together. In this case, to weld vertices together, you press W or basically select all the geometry that matters, and press W to remove doubles. Or you could do it right here as well. And then you can see we just have one vertex there. Okay, and then for the window frames, I think I'll just use inset. I kind of want to look here. Looks like we have a little extra down here. Maybe that, well, I think the reason why that is just because the photo was taken probably at an angle, so we're going to be able to you should be able to see more of the window sill on the bottom here than on the top, so it's probably the same on both. It's just the way the picture was taken from the satellite. So I'll just inset these so that they're all the same. In fact, well, of course I have to inset one at a time, I guess. So let's pick how much we want to inset this by. I want it to be enough that we can see it, but okay, we'll do 0.042. I mean, whatever. It's not going to make a difference, but anyways, 0.042. And inset 0.042. We could have inset those, duplicated these windows after we insetted them, but again, hard to think that far ahead sometimes, so we'll just do it this way. Okay. And then of course the question is, we probably need to make these frames smaller, and this one is kind of just bigger again because of the angle of the picture, I think. It could be a little larger because it spans a greater distance. But of course that does mean we need to put a cut right there. So if I unhide that empty real quick, it's going to be this one, okay. And let's see if I can put a loop cut right about where we need it. And it looks like the vertices aren't going to be all the same, so all the same height anyway, so we're going to have to take care of that, unfortunately. But not a big deal with vertex snap. I'm just doing it one at a time because I don't know if those were all the same height or not, else I would have selected them all and moved them all down at the same time. Okay. And let's go back to our shaded mode. Unhide that empty. And let's see, if we move these in, I'm not sure if these are too wide. I guess they are, so they need to be narrower. So we'll do this. Grab anything on the right, we'll grab the vertices there. Just the ones in the middle of the windows. Alright, and grab, move on to X. We inset it at 0.042, so if we do 0.021, and that should be a minus sign. And we can make those narrower like that. And the same this way. What I'm probably going to end up doing, of course, for this window is make it one single unique texture. So I'm probably going to clean up a lot of these edges here in the end, but we'll get to that in due time. And this middle one here, it looks wider, but again, it's hard to say from the satellite image if it's really a wider part of the window. I mean, like as far as the frame goes anyways, than these other parts of the frame. It's probably a little wider just because it spans this way. So I guess what I'll do is do grab on the Z axis. If I could. That's not exactly what I wanted to do. I need to duplicate it first. There we go. Nope. What's going on? Shift D. Right click, so you just move it down after that. There we go. And this one I'll move minus 0.03, and then I'll move another one up. And since I duplicate the one I just had selected, I'll move it up 0.06. Okay. And how about let's see if I doubt if I did remove doubles on this that would cut those edges in, but let's see. Nope. Okay, so we're gonna have to do like a knife project or something for these vertices here. So we'll take care of that real quick. Okay, we have those selected. We'll just say press P to separate it. Select that object. I think we generally need to fill in these edges and make it out of plane so that it'll cut properly. And then we have that selected, then we select our other object, go into edit mode, line up our viewport, and then select all our geometry. And somewhere where I'm mesh tools, there we go, knife project. And it looks like that worked fine. So let's go back and delete this object so we can see if it did or not. There we go. Looks like it worked great. Yeah, okay, good. So, last step here is we're just going to extrude these windows back. So, how far do you want to go? X. Oh, I think I pressed inset instead of, or I pressed I instead of E. There we go. And that's going to be on the Y axis, so I might as well lock it to that axis. And I'll probably make the window frames about square. Maybe like that. It's got to be far enough back that you can actually see it in Flight Sim, else it just doesn't even matter. Because it's just it won't render in Flight Sim, I guess, because it's so if it's too small of an extrusion. Even though it will be there, it'll just be a performance killer if there's too many extra polygons or whatever added. Not that we need to be that concerned. But anyways, that's that. I can go ahead and just try and select all this window geometry and separate it. So I think vertex, well, being able to select the planes might work. If you can get them all in the box selection here. And we have two stragglers. Looks like we got them all, so now I'll just press P to select, to separate. There we go. And we'll dissolve. I kind of want to clean up these, well, of course I want to clean up these extra pieces here at some point. But I guess I won't do that now. This piece could be separated here, because that way it'll just be its own object and we can duplicate it here. Where these windows are anyways, so that make texturing easier. So if I just go ahead and separate that, and okay, that'll be good. And then we just select all the geometry and we can just clean it up now. So mesh, in this case, since it's just simple quads in here, we can just do clean up, or well, let's see, yeah, clean up, limited dissolve, and that cleans it up fine. I'll apply rotation and scale to this as well. And I'll move the origin to geometry on both of these objects just to keep things nice. Now at this point I could keep modeling, but I actually have enough stuff here to actually create a texture or two, and that way we can kind of get an idea of where we need to go from here. Do we need more detail, or can we just pump it out with the textures and whatnot? So I'm going to go ahead and try and make the metal texture right here. It's fairly reflective, as you can see, looking at like, well, there goes Gimp. Looking at like right here how the top of the jetway is being reflected onto the wall there. So it's pretty metallic. So I guess that the challenge here is going to be making it look shiny. Obviously that's going to have to do with in part material settings in Flight Sim, but also if we can, it would be cool to emulate these reflections here. I'm just not sure how I'm going to do that and do it with some amount of optimization, so we don't, you know, add a whole nother 2048 texture just to add these details, because I guess it doesn't really add a whole lot to have them there or not. But again, I always like to think big, and that way things come out decent in the end. Okay, so we have GIMP open here. I'm just going to go with a 2048 texture. I know a lot of times I go with 4096, but in this case I don't really need that much detail to work with. And again, I always scale them down in the, almost always anyway, scale them down in the end, because a 4096 texture is huge. And if you can't, you know, use it efficiently in some way or another, then you're just wasting a lot of texture space for other things. So I'm going to save this to some place right now before I go and forget later. This is going to be term. That's a nice name. I'll call this wall 2 for a wall texture. It's a nice name. Maybe I'll even go wall metallic, if that's a good name or not. Okay, so I should look through my textures I have downloaded, see if there's anything I could even start with, because that's going to be the real challenge, is just getting the right effect here. And the more real your textures look before you add any material settings and, like, you know, model converter X before as you export it, I generally think the better. And I kind of think all those materials, any of the, like having to add a cube map or any of those things, I think hurts performance in some way or another. So the more detail you can get out without the need of effects, the better. This is actually kind of a cool texture because of the just the glass part of it. It looks pretty darn cool. So it wouldn't hurt to try using it. But on the other hand, there's only like this one and more like, well, this one and maybe that one to work with. The rest of these are kind of junk. I guess I could work with that one too, but I'd have to fix this, which wouldn't be too hard, and the rest of these are not that salvageable. Maybe this one here. So always something to think about as texture that we could use, but that's just for the windows. For the wall texture, we probably don't have a whole lot to work with at the moment. Looking through some of my metal stuff, you'd be surprised what some of this what you can accomplish with some of this stuff here, but I'm not seeing anything that I think it's going to work too well. So I'm going to go ahead and go to textures.com, find something here. Hopefully it won't take too long, but This is all part of the process. Okay, what am I looking for here? Like, okay, I'll go ahead and move it over. So you guys can see it. Maybe it's, I mean, it's not that interesting, obviously. It's pretty boring, but it's something to look at. Metal. I'm looking for metal. So, yeah. Bare or base is probably what we're going to go after here. So, we'll try bare first. So many different ones. It's hard to sift through. That's sort of interesting actually, because it might help add some interest to the texture. I won't actually use this for the main portion of the texture. And it looks like I have to log in, so let's see. I better move this back real quick in case something password or anything shows up that I don't want to show up. Because else I can't download anything. Trying to think of what my password is here. Oh, okay. Alright, that password worked, fortunately. Okay. And okay. I'm gonna download that texture, because why not? Just keep putting more stuff on my SSD, I guess. Why aren't we going back here? There. Needs something that looks... needs to be pretty just bare metal. I mean, none of this is popping out yet. Is what I'm looking for. That maybe, but not really. Okay, that's all those. So let's look at base. Not sure what the difference is, but these look like they might be a little smoother. That's kind of an interesting one. I was hoping to find more than this, but there really isn't a whole lot. This one maybe. Again, there isn't a whole lot to select from, so I'm just going to download them. Alright, so I'll download. I really don't need the highest res. Well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to have the highest res one, so don't necessarily need it though. So I'll download these two. I know where they're at, so I'll move that back over. And I'd actually like to just move them straight to my raw textures folder here, where I can store them. Okay, so let me get a better look at these real quick. So that's not going to work too well because all this stuff going on. Oh well. And of course, that one, whatever, not terribly interesting. Let's see. So what I might have to do is this one certainly might be interesting. They kind of give it more of a reflective look. So I'm going to add this one. And the only other one that I'm seeing that even makes sense to even try would be... Look and see if these are the same resolution. I guess they are. Well, it's this one right here, and possibly this one. Okay. I'm going to add alpha channel to all of these. And the other part of this is I can only really use like the top half of this, because else the bottom half we could use for the other part of the texture, which would be this bit. So most of it we need for this, and then we need that. So tell you what we can do is measure the height of this, and in this case, since we're down on the ground here, we just have to click on one of these vertices up top. Look at its coordinates. Z-axis 19.24 sounds about right, and of course I'll have to multiply that by 2, so it's going to be 38.5 meters or so. So 35.8 times, we convert that to feet. I'm just using my calculator here. That doesn't even make sense. 119 feet. Why would that be? 19.24 meters. I was thinking this thing was scaled down by half, but it just can't be. And that even, it's barely making sense to me, that height, but there we go. I had to apply rotation and scale. Something wasn't working. Yeah, 4.57 sounds closer. I'm going to multiply that by 2. And then we'll multiply by 3.33, which I think is about how many feet there is in a meter. So we get 30.43 feet. That sounds about right. And what I'm going to do here is divide that by, or divide 2048. That's the height of our texture, the width of our texture, what do you want to call it, by that 30.43. Figure out how many pixels per foot. 67 pixels per foot. It doesn't seem too bad, really. That's actually pretty good, so we should be able to work with that just fine. Now the question is, how much of this is the top half and how much of this is just the bottom half? So we need to go back into Blender here. The bottom part is just at this vertex, so that's... We need to apply rotation and scale to this one too, it looks like. Yeah, we're getting a weird Z value for that. We'll just use... Let's see. If I could just move this one down to height. Purposes of measuring the height. 1.67, so 1.67 divided by the actual height, which is 4.57. Alright, so let's see. 1 minus this. So about 63% of our texture needs to be that top part. Again, this sounds kind of like, well, whatever, but it's kind of important that we get this close. So I'll do 64%. I'll just add a guide there. So top part can be all metal. The bottom part will be that concrete wall part of it. So, okay, so we need a texture to start out with. So why not start out with this, okay? So let's just scale it down a little bit. Use as much of the texture as we can. And of course I went and scaled it down too much, so be a little more careful this time. Okay, that's fine. And we'll just select that and say layer, crop to selection. And let's go ahead and try and work with this for a while. So obviously it's not going to work as is. We know that much. Let's go ahead and let me see here. I just want to okay. So what I'm thinking is 13 is a blur of some sorts to start out with, and maybe before we even blur it, if we add a noise to it, because it's not going to do much if we don't pixelize it a little bit here. Yeah, probably keep the holdness down. And maybe do that twice. And then what I was thinking is maybe like a filters, blur, motion blur, and we'll just do it like vertically. Well, let's see, which one? Yeah, we'll try vertical first. So angle is going to be 90 degrees, I think. And we'll increase the height quite a bit. Okay. So I really just needed something to start out with, guys. Who knows if it's going to work out, but again, we're working with kind of a limited texture set here. Now this, again, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how this works, but you really just honestly never know, so. Let's go ahead. I messed up the aspect ratio here, so set that back to 0. There we go. And what I'm going to do is erase the edges of this, so just have a faded edge around this texture. And then I'm just going to duplicate it all over the place here. So there, just all over. Again, this seems weird, but I've done weirder things and it's come out looking pretty nice. So it's just that kind of thought of what if this works. But it is going to make it look. The effect I'm going for here is just trying to make it look like there's some reflection in the metal, you know. And of course, I'll probably have to add some sort of blurring or something to this. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting. Whoops, I went and deleted that. Okay. I wonder if there's a keyboard shortcut for merging these down. I hate having to right-click every time. Or merge like all selected into one or something. Oh well, it doesn't take that long, but delete that. So that might work, but what we need to do now is maybe like some more motion blur. So I'll blur this layer. Make sure it's selected first, of course. And what am I looking for here? Motion blur. There we go. This time we'll make it left to right, though. Make it pretty wide. Okay, and the one issue I can see we have already is these edges. So actually, if I just take this smudge tool, and I'm going to bring the opacity all the way back up, and even in general, just kind of smudging the whole thing, because again, we're just trying to get sort of a glossy, reflective look going on here. And I don't like a whole lot of this red in the texture, because I just can't think of too many things that would be casting that much red into the wall. So I'm going to try and take care of that. And of course, I'll keep blurring the sides here and getting this kind of messed up here, but alright, so we'll keep kind of circling. And I'll try and remember to blur outwards so I don't mess up the edge. Okay, that's good. And like I was saying, I'm going to probably bring down the contrast, so the saturation, excuse me. Okay. And we're going to have to find something else to work with here, I think. So, why not add another layer? I mean, can't do no harm to try. And one thing, of course, I'm looking for here, I'd like to have a little more light on the top and a little darker on the bottom, and this texture right here might do it for us. So, where can we scale this layer? There we go. Let's scale this up quite a bit so that the width is there. Looks good. Okay. And it's almost looking too reflective now. Still looks a little weird, honestly, but I'm going to try some motion blur. It's kind of my go-to thing at the moment, so use this much, so might do more, huh? That didn't do anything because I didn't have it selected. Filters, blur. Now ideally I wish I just had a picture of this wall and I wouldn't have to be doing any of this, or at least not to the same extreme, but you know, work with what you have. And I'm thinking we still maybe like want a little bit of a noise layer. Let me see what this looks like again. Okay, so it's definitely bluer, that's for sure. It's fairly smooth, so I don't want a whole lot of imperfections in it. I mean, again, this this image is obviously pretty low res, but you know, you can kind of get an idea. So we're going to have seams on either side, so I might as well throw those in. One issue I'm seeing here is it's a little darker here than it is over there, so I guess I'm tempted to just kind of copy this side, this layer, then layer transform, flip horizontally, move it over to this side. And fortunately, since we have seams in this texture, we don't have to worry about it tiling, because the seams will just kind of help it tile on its own. And then we gotta kind of erase this in a way that it's sort of hidden. Looks like we might even need to use the smudge tool or something. Okay, so what can I do to kind of smooth that out? Do I need just like a color maybe? And maybe this is where I'll get my blue. If I had kind of a blue shade on top of everything. Again, I'm just going with things here and seeing what works. And none of it might work, and then so that's pretty blue. So again, any color you use is going to have to be desaturated quite a bit, but let me just get rid of that there. And colors, hue, and saturation, lightness. So here's where I play with all the colors. It's not selected, so I can't edit it. Okay, great. There we go. Go ahead and save it while I have a chance. Alright. Lightness, saturation needs to come down. Quite a bit, really. And I'm going to plop this over to my second monitor so I can kind of get an idea. So it's kind of hard to judge, but this is too green. It needs to be a little more on the purple side. And the hue, again, too purple now, so I need to go back to the blue. That's not looking too bad right there now. See, again, it's all of a sudden it's starting to kind of look good to me, because we kind of got these sort of kind of reflective-y things going on here. So yeah, I'm kind of starting to like that a little more. And again, I think the faster you kind of work in the beginning with these textures, the better they come out with the end, and instead of just sitting there and thinking about it too much. I'm not too sure how these seams work. They must be pretty thin, just kind of looking at them. They're not like the ones over here on the other, well, kind of hard to show you when I can't get out of this view. There. But over here we got these big seams, like there. It's kind of hard to see, but anyways, I'm trying to figure out how to get out of ground level view. And I just can't. Where's the button? It's usually right there on top. Okay, maybe I never entered ground level view. Alright, so looks like it's evenly cut, so if we cut one here, then there's going to be, what, 25, 50%, and 75%. Okay. Go back here, and I put a blue mark there on my texture. Okay, so I made a new layer. This is going to need to be black to begin with. Any of these seams, I just start with black just to map it out. Okay, and we're gonna need some guides. So, new guides by percent. These are gonna be vertical, of course. So 0, 25. I could even use a grid. I just kind of like guides better. Don't ask me why, just do. But yes, you could use a grid as well. Okay. This is going to be a little too wide, I think, but let's just see what we get here. Yeah, so there's no seam on top, so I don't have to worry about that. We just go straight down here. Now, the one thing I'm concerned with is if these splotchy reflection things are too pronounced, well, then we have issues, because it's going to be really obvious that they're tiled. So, and again, you have to kind of think about, well, if you're going to add some material settings to your texture, then if it's like there's some shine or reflectiveness to it, then they're not going to show up. It's not going to show up as much anyways. But on the same hand, I mean, you kind of gotta make things look good. So, just has to fool the eye. Okay, we're going backwards here. So maybe I'll do kind of a light one there and then a nice dark seam. Because why not? So I'll make a new layer and we'll scale this, make it a fairly hard brush. Not this hard-edged one, but the one after it. And we'll just plop even darker seam right down the middle if it would paint. Where is it? I'm not seeing it. Where is it? Do you have it selected? That's pretty crazy. Let's try that again. New layer. Wow, I've never had this happen to me before. Why isn't it painting? Okay, that worked. Now, we'll go back to our brush though. Maybe it's just too small. I don't know. Go with a different color here. Nothing. Wow, that's strange. What's going on? It's just crazy. Okay. So this one worked fine. Why isn't it? I have the paintbrush going. And the eraser's working. That's nuts. Okay. What did I do here? Oh. There, I put the opacity all the way down. I knew I did something. Wow. Not paying attention, and then I know I turned that down because I was trying to turn the opacity of the layer down, and I was on the wrong menu, and so I'm glad I figured that out and fairly quickly. Okay. That was funny. Gotta keep track of time here. Don't have all night, but I get kind of into this and I don't want to stop. Okay, well, that's cool. I'm gonna hide the guides here real quick. Whoops. Yeah. But by the way, if you make a grid and you want your tools or whatever to snap to the grid, you need to check that right there. Else it's not going to work. But okay, that's not looking too bad, really. It's a matter of kind of fine-tuning these things. I'm just kind of thinking about other things I want to add because it's still a little disinteresting, I guess. Like it is a pretty flat texture, no doubt, but looks like I might have counted the number of grooves here wrong. Looks like I only have 2 in the middle. Oh, okay. So it's gonna be well, after I did all that, I had to do that again. Okay. So what is that going to be? 33.33, whatever. Don't allow decimal places, so it's just going to be 33%, and then we're going to need a 66.6, so that's going to be closer to 67, really, but so we'll try 67. And okay. Delete all that wonderful work. So, view, show guides. Alright. So, let me get a bigger brush again. And what, like maybe 10? Strike a line through there, one through here, and of course on that side, both sides. I'll try and get this texture put onto that face so we can kind of see what it looks like before I end this stream. Not saying I'm going to end it immediately or anything, I'm just planning for the future. So, okay, I'm going to delete this, or delete what's on it. Make sure it did. Okay. And I'm not seeing any texture or paint there. Did I must have not had the paintbrush activated, huh? It's late. Okay. So there we go. That's better. Now again, that one's going to come down in opacity, and then we got to do this one. So I think we got this right this time, hopefully. Okay, so I'll kind of decrease that a little bit, bring this one down, hide the guides. Since this is metal, it's going to be a fairly hard seam. Just metal's more precise that way instead of like a stucco kind of thing like those other two concourses are. So I'm going to do something else here real quick. See how this looks. But yeah. So I'm going to put some white on here, but I'm going to do it with a little jitter. Okay. Whoops, did that on the wrong layer. Need a new layer for this. And again, this is going to be just some white. Need more jitter. I thought I had it checked. Okay, let's see if this one works. This might seem kind of weird, but we're going to try it. So I'm going to go like that. And then write down these seams here. And I'm really going to kick these back. I don't know. I don't know why I'd even put those there, but just something. Oh well, we'll leave them for now. Didn't really do much for us, but whatever. One other thing I want to try before I take a look at this in Blender is adding some kind of striping here. Again, as another kind of subtlety. So, looking for one that it's going to work well. Where's kind of our basic striping? Brushed aluminum. Ooh, I like that. Let's see how that looks. I want this to repeat. Where can I set that? I know I can repeat. Okay, yeah. So we're gonna make this really small. That's gonna be pretty weird. Let's see. There's the eyes right now. I think the guide's right there, so if I delete that. And this is, again, gonna be very subtle if it's even gonna be there. But we're just trying to add interest to this texture because else it's, you know, I mean, it's fine, but maybe what I could do is blur this afterwards. I mean, who knows? If I duplicate this, this has got to come a bit opacity so I can see what I'm doing here. Move that. Okay, maybe merge these two down now and blur it or something. Just trying to add some more feel to it. So I'm just blurring it right now, so I don't have it selected though, so it's not going to help any. And maybe I'll even add noise to it. I mean, again, to see what we can do here. And in that case, I'm going to... Yeah, I don't really like that. But the noise in general is not a bad idea. So why don't we try that? Let's just delete what we have here and add maybe a white color. Okay. Get rid of what we don't need. Let's see, filters. Filters, noise, HVS noise, saturation. I'm gonna go way up. Holdness, turn that all the way down. Value, hue, whatever that does. Okay, let's see. Sometimes adding a little noise makes things a little more photoreal looking. Just a touch though, not too much. Maybe a little more because when we zoom out we can't see it too well. So it's going to be still going to be a little obvious that it's repetitive. So anyway, we'll just go ahead and, well, let me do one more thing here before I do that. I'm going to add some shading in a couple spots here. And that's just going to be with the gradient tool. So I'm just going to do FG to transparent. I don't want to repeat it this time. I don't want any repeat, so there we go. Yeah, so maybe we'll make another new layer here. Whoops. Just add a little bit. Top might be a little bit much, but and bring the opacity of this way down now. Just want a kind of little hint of something going on here. Okay, well, we'll give that a try. I'm going to export this. Yeah, that'll work. Export and okay, so usually with these things, I'm just going to do project from view to unwrap this. So, alright, and then unwrap, project from view, get our UV thing open here. That was the wrong thing. Let's see. There we go. And open that image. And let's see if I did my size calculations right, because if I did, this would fit pretty well. I may have not done it right, so it fits pretty well. Little off, but always want a little extra on either side, doesn't hurt. And we can always scale it one way or another, like so, just to use up more of that texture. But for the most part, not too bad. Okay, so that actually looks pretty good, I had to say, for the first time looking at it here. It's a little on the grainy side, so probably going to take care of that. These grooves are not convincing me at all yet. They're okay from a distance, but up close don't look all that exciting. I'm not seeing any grooves on the side. I'm not sure why. I guess there is. Not really though. So yes, a little grainy. So we can go ahead and fix that right now. Something like that. So I'll save this and re-export it and reload it. That's better. Might be a little dark as well. Let's see what Google Earth has. Hard to say. Again, it reflects a lot of light too, so hard to say. And again, these all that white here in Blender still, it's kind of hard to filter out when I'm looking at this. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this, but I want the origin to be somewhere where I can easily snap it. So if I say Shift S, cursor to selected, object, and then yeah, object mode, transform, origin to 3D cursor, then I can just duplicate this with vertex snap on, and boom. Well, I thought these would all be evenly spaced. Why aren't they? That one is. These aren't. Weird. Why is this one? Oh, I see. Because I cut some of it off. Okay, that's right. So it's going to go right there. Okay, so yeah, you can see the repetitiveness in there. It's not awful at the moment, so I think we could fix it by like removing this bit, sort of evening that out. And again, this is still kind of a texture in its youth, so have a long ways to go before this is finalized. I mean, maybe I'll get to liking it more, but yes, I still think it needs a fair amount of work to get there, but I just like to get something started. But overall, not too bad. So we made some progress there. So we got the window basically taken care of. The window frame, we can just like cut this off because, like I was saying, this is the same as that, and what's the other one? This is the same as that. So again, we could kind of just, that texture is going to work out just fine. We have this thing down here, this concrete kind of stuff. I'm not going to waste texture space making two tones here. I don't think. It just doesn't make sense to me to do that. I mean, it doesn't add a whole lot detail-wise. I'm just kind of looking around here. I'm just curious, but all right. Well, I think that's good for now. I just wanted to get get further along on this. Not that it doesn't seem like we got very far, but again, the texture is worth a lot. So I'm just gonna keep kind of hacking away at this, and eventually we'll hopefully have something that looks pretty cool. All right, get this thing archived.